Greetings Internet. While chatting with Dave at the weekend, the topic came up of what is the best thing to call me. As someone who's been on the internet a while, I've acquired a few different usernames over the years and it's become a little bit confusing. So let's talk briefly about the history of how that happened. Starting way back in 1995, I started writing games under the name Slayer Software. Thinking back now, I'm not entirely sure why I picked that name. I can only presume that it came as an inspiration from the band, but even then I'm not sure why I would have picked them for inspiration. In those years I was less of a thrash fan and more of your traditional metal Iron Maiden fan. It's possible, I guess, that I just thought the word was cool. It was certainly years before Buffy became a thing and a major part in my life, so it wasn't from that. But anyway, during those years while I was at college, those games I was writing became fairly popular among a few of my friends, and they took the name Slayer Software and started calling me the Slayster. Very early on in the internet, when I was signing up for things, I used to try and sign up with the username Slayer, but obviously it didn't take very long before that was already taken anywhere, so at that point I adopted Slayster instead. And I've usually been able to get that on most services even today, although sometimes it's gone and I end up having to change the L for a 1. But for some reason when I first signed up for Twitter I decided not to do that. I felt like I needed something shorter, so I went with Slayweb, which was the name of my website. But weirdly, I've never really expected anyone to call me that in person. I've never actually really felt a lot of direct personal connection to that name. And that's probably partly because in the early days of Twitter, I wasn't really using it very actively to converse with people. It was just a passive thing. I would follow people and it would be like a news feed rather than anything interactive. Whereas nowadays I'm more actively communicating with other people on it, and that's confused things a bit. But then moving on to YouTube. My original account is under the name Slayster. But later on, when I decided I wanted to do more talking to the camera vlogging type stuff, I decided I needed a new channel, which of course needed a new username. And at that point I was no longer in touch with anyone who had ever called me Slayster in real life. The nickname that I had ended up with then had become Dune, which was just a fairly simple evolution of Brendan to Brendoon to Dune. So thinking that I would be sharing my life with the internet on this channel, I went with the simple The Life of Dune as the channel name. But thinking about it now, I'm not sure whether that was really the right thing to go with, because although my local friends at that time were all calling me Dune, no one on the internet knew that name. But I stuck with it because at the time I thought it was fine and not many people were watching that channel anyway. And when the time came to make a spin-off channel about films and DVDs, it seemed obvious to stick with Dune Does DVD for the nice alliteration. But then of course came Google Plus, and YouTube wanted everyone to start using YouTube with their real name. And I resisted for a while, but in the end I caved, and so the channel that was The Life of Dune is now simply known as Brendan Ellis. And I kind of regret that decision a little bit now, but it also doesn't really matter because my real name has popped up on all sorts of other places too. It's on my Facebook, it's on my Twitter profile, and it's probably all over the other places on the web. But even my real name Brendan isn't what a lot of people call me. A lot of my family will shorten it simply to Bren. A lot of my regular co-workers shorten it all the way down to just B. So now we've got Slayster, Slayweb, Dune, Brendan, Bren, B, and out of those, the one I actually call myself in my internal monologue is actually Dune. But I should point out that that doesn't give that one any more weight over the others, and you can actually just call me whatever you like. So long as it's some kind of sound that will get my attention, it doesn't really matter to me. However you feel comfortable addressing me is fine. Anything all the way from B to that bearded dude, take your pick. But it'll be interesting to hear what you guys think. Tell me in comments how you would refer to me. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again tomorrow.